Okay, I've got some questions and answers to read out to you. So here we go. Where did your creative path start? Was creativity nurtured for you as a child, or did it come to you later in life? Well, it was most definitely nurtured in me as a child, because my mother, she went to art college and she studied fashion and design. So she did actually work in that field for a little while until she got married, and of course in the 50s that you stopped working, you became a wife, and you had your children. Well, so luckily for me, she had a great big huge collection of fabrics, beads, you name it, and she loved to make things with me when I was a child. I've got something here that I made out of bits from her trunk, and I must have been about 7 when I made this, out of the most, some of them horrendous fabrics, but you know, it was great fun to do. Plastic beads, gold lame, brine nylon, but this is actually the lace from her, that's Nottingham lace from her wedding dress, so that's a bit special. So yes, so early on I was making collages, dolls' clothes, knitting, anything that she felt like having fun with me with. So that was marvellous. But I mean, it also got nurtured by some very special people along the way as well. Have you had any formal training, or are you self-taught? Well, I have had formal training. Where did the formal training take place? So firstly, I went to Loughborough College of Art, and I did a 3-year embroidery Bachelor of Arts course, and I came out at the end of it with a first class honours degree. And then I applied to the Royal College of Art, and I went for a 2-year course in textiles, but at that time it was a tapestry course, and it was a little side bit tacked on the 6th floor of the main block, and you just were free to utilise all the facilities in the department or other departments, and have fun for 2 years and develop your style, I suppose. So that was fantastic, and so I've got an MA from the Royal College of Art as well. What do you make? Well, I would say I'm an abstract artist who uses fabric and thread as well as paints and other media. So I suppose I do call myself a mixed media textile artist, because I am rooted in textiles. How long have you been creating these mixed media pieces? Well, I left the Royal College of Art in 1981, and I was lucky to be offered a studio, firstly at 401.5 in the Wandsworth Road, which was then owned by Michael Haynes, who did all the booking, Ladbrokes, I think, windows out of acrylics. Anyway, so I was there for a little while, and then I moved to Clerkenwell Workshops in Clerkenwell, and was at the top of the building in a huge old warehouse, sort of top floor. It was brilliant, kind of divided up but fairly open plan. There was quite a bunch of us in there, very eclectic mix of printmakers and painters, and people even growing alfalfa sprouts, and me. So it was great fun, and that lasted for a few years, and until we bought our own house, and so I've carried on ever since. So yeah, from 1981 properly. What are the materials and processes you work with, and how have these evolved over time? Well, I started when I was at Loughborough doing my BA, being very precious about materials and only using beautiful silk and vellum and kid skin, and they were so beautiful you couldn't make them look awful. And then when I went to the Royal College of Art, I abandoned all that. I wanted to make my own surfaces, so I began to introduce all kinds of textured mediums like texture paste, modelling paste, plaster of Paris, sand, anything that would create a sort of nice organic type texture like I was getting with the previous materials, but I'd made it myself, and then I began to colour them. And so yes, I use anything really that will create an interesting texture, because texture is what I'm really interested in. That, and obviously colour. I do like my colour. But I love to combine it with thread, and I can never abandon that completely. So there's either thread in there mixed into it, or I stitch over the top of all the surfaces that I create, and I use paper, and I use a mixture of fabrics. I used to use a lot of Japanese paper. It's quite strong, so it's also almost like a fabric, and it stitches very well. It doesn't tear or get destroyed. So yes, I use acrylic paints, I use shellacs, varnishes, metal pigments, powders, everything, and dyes. I think that's about it. What do you enjoy most about your craft? Well, I think the fact that I can use anything really. I'm not limited, because if I was making practical things, I would be limited. And you know, I like to be able to add gold, sometimes real gold. I have used real gold leaf on various commissions in the past, and you know, if that was to be washed, then that would be a no-go, but I can use it. So yeah, I like the fact that I'm free to experiment and use anything that I just like the look of, and see how I go with it, where it leads me. What inspires you? Well, I live in Devon. I live in Torrington, and it's very beautiful here. You can't help but be inspired by the environment you're in. And at the moment, that's obviously here in Torrington. It's very beautiful with the river valley and the moors either side of us. I'm not far from the sea, so it's all there for the taking. But I'm also very influenced by my travels in a previous life. So when I was younger, I did a lot of travelling, helped and spurred on by the fact that I used to do sort of exhibitions abroad, and also my parents lived in New Zealand, so we did a lot of travelling to and fro, and we would stop over in various countries en route and travel, and it was fabulous. And so I got very influenced in all of the textiles and their unique handicrafts, and I would go to all these places and watch things being made, and the use of the colour. In fact, I've got something here just to explain just the stitching. Look at the construction of the stitching on this little hat. Just the composition of that, it's a work of art on its own, and it's just the top of the hat. So, you know, and all these beautiful colours that they use in their fabric. So these are Indonesian, and they come from Lombok. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful colours. I mean, pure. I mean, how can you not get inspired by? You think, oh, that's so yummy. I've just got to go and mix up that colour. So yes, I have quite an extensive textile collection and artifacts, so I am influenced by that. But I'm also influenced by 20th century abstract art, because I'm kind of in awe of it, because it's so brave, it's just so colourful, and the shapes, it's strong, and yeah, what they put in, what they leave out, I'm very influenced by that. Where do you work? Shared studio, a desk in your house, location. Well, I work in my studio here, which is at the bottom of my house on the way to the garden. So the garden is literally just here, just out the door there. So I'm quite in nature, really. Yeah, I love it. What do you listen to while you're working? Silence. Well, it's a bit windy today, but I like the sound of just the birds and the nature sounds that come in from outside. It's very calming. And if I feel like it, I listen to music. So I have a bit of an eclectic style. So it depends what mood I'm in. So if I need rousting, well, it could be anything from opera, classical, rock and roll. But I do have a lot of musical friends. So I have some of their music and I listen to that a lot. And it's sort of like soul or folk or slightly jazzy. I don't listen to the radio much because when I'm on my machine, it makes a lot of noise and I have to concentrate and I just don't hear what's being said really. But singing, listening to music, that's fine. So do you have any tools you couldn't live without? Well, I can't be without my sewing machine. I mean, that's it. That does everything. Everything gets finished off or it is incorporated somewhere. And obviously my iron, couldn't live without my iron and my ironing board. I mean, I'm in my little corner here where everything gets done. And all of the pigments, paints, mediums, dyes, all those things, that's what my work's made from. So yes, I couldn't live without those. Is sustainability a factor in your making process or message? Well, it's not particularly a message other than only in that I do consider myself quite sustainable because I do reuse just about everything. I don't waste anything. I've had that instilled in me from my mother and my grandmother, you know, that waste not, want not, and reuse and, you know, make good and mend. So yeah, I have a bag here as well. This is my bag. It lives right next to me and it's just stuff full of bits that I keep, that I reuse. That's just one bag, but that's the one that sits beside me where when I'm working, I just throw that in there. It gets sifted through and sorted later. As a maker, are there any particular challenges that you are facing right now? Well, I think in the last few years, it's really social media. I mean, I don't know whether it's any good for you or not. I really haven't worked it out. I mean, I've figured out how to use it as to the best of my ability, but I kind of resent it and I don't like the way it intrudes in my time as a maker. And I just think it's better to do real things, meet real people and forge real relationships. That's what's always worked for me, and it's still the same. People prefer to meet you, really, and no matter how much information you seem to put on social media, people can't really know you. They need to come and see you. You need to get together. They need to come and see you at functions, fairs, exhibitions. Anyway, there's that. And the cost of everything. Most materials have obviously probably tripled. Some have quadrupled. Obviously, costs of heating, using all your electrical equipment, everything's gone up. But, you know, you just have to get savvy. Get savvy with it and shop around. So I think those are my main challenges. Otherwise, it's just carrying on. Any makers, artists, people that you particularly admire or look up to? Well, there are loads, but especially nowadays, a lot of a lot of my contemporaries are using mixed media. It's really it's come into its own, and it's very exciting times really for this kind of sort of genre. So yeah, I like a lot of people, but one person who springs to mind who I only really recently came across is somebody called Dorothy Caldwell, and I like her ethos. I don't know, I feel we share a similar liking, I would imagine, for similar things because of her compositions. I don't know I don't know much about her, but I think her work's incredible, so she might be worth looking up. Are there any pieces or achievements that you are particularly proud of? I've been going a while, so there's a lot of things I'm pleased with and I'm proud of. I'm very proud of the fact that, well, I have been going for quite a while and I am still here and I'm still making my stuff and it's still selling and people still seem to want it, and that's brilliant and very encouraging and gratifying. But yes, I mean, I've had a great run really, so showing work in Singapore and Japan and, you know, having solo shows, and yeah, I've enjoyed all of that. I've had some great commissions. I've done a lot of commission work. One of the most challenging was for Dorchester Abbey, when I did all of the vestments and the altar cloth and frontlet. So if you're interested, you can look on their website. That was particularly challenging because I had to do an extreme amount of embroidery and although I do embroidery, it was a lot more challenging for me because it was a more traditional, but I embraced that. It was a great commission. I was very, very pleased with the way it ended up. I don't know how it got made. I think it was divine intervention in the end, because yeah, there were some of the things I did think were beyond me. So I think that's it. Thank you for listening.